Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Last Honest Realtor podcast. I am your host, David Fleming. Well, it's another day and another Banana Republic t-shirt for me. No, seriously, it is 21 degrees out today in early November. Amazing. Although I do feel sometimes like I should be sponsored by Banana Republic because I'm always wearing their shirts in these podcasts. I like to dress comfortably at the office. I also feel like I should get sponsorship from Gatorade because two different people have emailed me and said, why are you always featuring a prominently displayed bottle of Gatorade in your videos? I'm not, I'm just parched. So anyways, with that out of the way, let's talk about what's happening in the market. And today I wanted to talk about a phenomenon. Is it a phenomenon? Just a lot of agents that really don't know how to get deals done. But we'll start from the top down. Probably going to call this podcast something like, why is nothing selling? Why are sales at an all-time low? Something that's eye-catching, of course, and captures the big picture. But it'll be based off a blog post that I did on Monday called It Takes Two to Tango. Why is nothing selling? Now, I haven't really been known to dance. I'll admit I do not tango, I do not cha-cha, I do not merengue. But as the saying goes, it takes two to tango. What I am saying simply, folks, is that there has to be two people to make a deal. Now, in actual fact, there's four. There's a buyer, a seller, a buyer agent, and a seller agent. And in today's market, I might be so bold as to say that ego on behalf of agents is playing more of a role now than ever before. I would also say one of the recurring themes will be agents not wanting to have difficult conversations with their clients. So just in terms of some background, the sales in September, and again, I wish we had the October data, but I am filming this probably one day before that data comes out. In any event, October would be comparable to September, but the September TREB data shows the second fewest sales in the month of September ever. So nothing's selling. Now, if you looked at any product in any market and said, why are sales so low? You would come to one of two general conclusions. The first would be that there's low demand. And the second would be that there's low supply. But there is not low supply. Because if you actually look at new listings and you look at the month of September, you'll see, as I wrote in a blog post, and as I will probably write in October when the data will be more or less the same, in September we saw the second most new listings in any month of September. So we have the second fewest sales, the second most listings. So we can't say that supply is low. Well, then it must be that what? Demand is low? No, that's the funny thing. There is demand out there. There's no metric for quality listings. I often joke with my team, imagine getting the job at the Toronto Real Estate Board to decide what's a quality listing. Every day, your job is to look at listings and throw them into one bucket or the other. The first bucket is quality listings. The second one is crap. Now, there's a lot of that out there. There are a lot of micro condos no one wants. There's a lot of assignments. There's a lot of properties that have been listed 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, as evidenced by the blog we did last week about that property that had been listed at 39 different prices, 11 different times with 4 agents over 600 days. But what I'm seeing out there right now is that sellers simply are not accepting current market prices. This is why, in my humble opinion, sales are slow. So the demand, as I said, it's there, and there will be more demand in 2025 when interest rates are lower. And you've heard me say over and over on this podcast and on my blog that I don't understand why people are waiting until next year. I think that the smart money is getting out ahead of these interest rate cuts. I've been saying this since August. Why not buy now? Close in November. You'll see a rate cut or two. Yes, you have to eat you know what on a variable rate mortgage for a few months, but you will pay significantly less. Fine. 90% of the market seems to say, no, we want to pay more money next March. And we'll have, a lower interest rate. We're going to save $1,000 a month. We'll pay $150,000 more for the house, but we want to save that $1,000. So fine, beat that dead horse at a later date. The point is there's demand out there, and there are just not enough sellers that are willing to take today's price. So now what is today's price? What is market value? What is fair market value? Here's the funny thing, folks. If you've got a listing at $700,000 because the same unit in the same building with the same view and the same everything sold for $700,000 last week, last month, last year. If you're sitting on the market day after day, week after week, month after month, and it's not selling, guess what? You're not worth $700,000. Now I know that. I would tell my clients on the sell side that, but I don't feel like other listing agents are telling their clients that. I feel like they're afraid to have those difficult conversations. So today I want to talk about a few different examples of this. And these are stories that, as I wrote on my blog, are experiences that we've had out there that underscore the agents not doing their job in terms of understanding and adapting to market value, the sellers not accepting market value. And again, I'm not going to say that I'm, blameless in all this, but at the end of the day, as I just told an agent on the phone, I'm not running a charity here. I'm going to come back to that after. So our first story is this. There's a condo. It's really nice. It's listed at $769. But here's the thing. It was just listed for $860. It was listed for $860 with offers anytime. It was on the market for 45 days with offers anytime. Now, if you saw a listing at $860 with offers anytime, you'd probably think I could get that for $850 or $840 or maybe $830. And in a normal market with normal market participants, you would probably be right. The leverage that a seller has diminishes with days on market as they increase. So my client and I saw it at $769, and yes, there's an offer date. Now again, the silliness of taking a property that has been listed over and over. Mind you, this one started at 1.2 million. So these guys, 1.1 million. These guys are going to lose a lot of money. Again, I have no sympathy for them because they bought in pre-construction. I don't sell pre-construction. Also, there's no inherent right to make money in the real estate market. It is a market of buyers and sellers. There are pros and cons. There are risks, etc. So this is their 7th listing. They've already done the whole offer night thing once and failed, but now they've taken this $860 listing and they've dropped it to $769. My client said, I like it. I said, okay, let's make an offer, $800. Now, the reason you're offering $800 is because it was on the market for $860, unsold for 45 days. That seller in a normal market, a rational seller in a rational market should probably expect to get $830 or $840. Most they could possibly expect is what, $850? Who's going to pay $850 on an $860 list 45 days in the market? So we put the offer together for $800,000 and we sent it over. And, again, we know that the seller's not going to love this. And the theme throughout today's podcast will usually be you thinking, hey, David, have you ever heard of this thing called negotiating? Don't blame the other side for wanting to negotiate. Just hear me out. If I said the seller shouldn't think that they're going to negotiate, only we can negotiate. That's not what this is about. We offered $800. Now, if they signed back at $810, yeah, we probably would have accepted it. $820, sure. $830, yeah, maybe, right? But they didn't sign back at any of those numbers. They signed back at $888. Now, again, you're going to say, I don't understand. It was listed for $860 for 45 days and no one bought it. Why would they sign back above the list price? This is exactly my point. It was absolutely, positively insane. So I didn't really understand it. And again, the agent, don't get me wrong, the agent's a nice guy or girl and very pleasant conversations. But I feel in this market like there's a lot of agents, and again, don't get me wrong, our job is to sell, our job is to negotiate, but there's a lot of agents that are trying to sell. And whether, the expression you're trying to sell sand in a desert, whatever the expression is that you want, you've been on the market for a year. You're on your 7th listing. Some of these, it's the 3rd agent. And they're going to say, listen, this is a rare opportunity. It's not rare. There's 14 units for sale in the building. I don't know where you and your client can get such an incredible hard loft across the hall. Listen, my seller doesn't need to sell that yet. No, they do. And so again, I get negotiating, right? I get posturing, I get selling. But at some point, as I always explain to my team, the way to get deals done in this market is to be honest. And you might laugh and say, well, you guys are real estate agents. You guys negotiate for a living. There's a story. I'm going to interrupt my story with another story. A few years ago, it was the fall of 2022. We went from an absolute fire of a market to a really poor fall market. Clients of ours, they're looking at houses, typical 3-bed semis on the east side. There's a listing at $999. And this thing's not going to sell on the offer night. I call the listing agent and she works for a very big team down on the east side. She gets it. I called her. How are you? Oh, it's good. How's the market? Well, as well as I do. Listen, we showed your property and we'd like to bring you an offer. Great. Could I bring you, say, $1,150,000? She says, yeah, you could do that. That'd be great, David. I said, okay. And we did, and we bought the house. Now, what she didn't do there was posture. Oh, David, I've had so many people through this. Well, David, 115, you're only $100,000 off. And again, you might say she's not working for her client. Again, I always assume people are going to be cynical. My point is this: that is an experienced agent that knows how to get a deal done. And when we bought that house with $1,150,000, you could call it a bully offer if you want. That same week, there was probably 40 houses that had failed offer dates and relisted and sat on the market over and over and over. That agent didn't screw it up. All of the agents in today's stories did. So back to our condo, listed for $860,000, sat and rotted on the market. We offered $800,000. They signed it back at $888,000. I did not understand this. And I said to the agent, I'm just looking at my notes. I said, what's the logic here? And then the agent starts to speak in euphemisms. Well, we're just looking for a fair deal for both parties. What is fair? Well, my client needs to. There is no needs. What my client wants, it doesn't matter what your client wants. And then I decided to go on the offensive. And you might find this to be slightly offending. I said to the agent, listen, in your email signature, you have CNE. That stands for Certified Negotiation Expert, which my cynical side says that they took a course at TREB, probably in a room full of people that have English as a second language, trying to define terms rather than actually understanding negotiation. Tell us how you really feel, David. Point is, I said to this person, you have a CNE designation. And the person said, yeah. I said, where in the course did it teach you to sign an offer back almost $30,000 higher than your previous unsuccessful list price? Silence. And then, he muttered something about, well, we're trying to, see what's fair. Now, the toughest part about this, after we clearly walked away, was at this offer date they had with the 769. They got 0 offers. They increased the price to 860. You signed our offer back at 888. 3 days later, you increased the price to 860. What are you doing? It takes 2 to tango. We have a buyer. We are ready to pull the trigger. And this buyer offered a 3-week closing. I understand that this seller is going to lose a lot of money. Whether you lose $200,000 or $215,000 doesn't necessarily matter. And in this case, I just could not understand the logic on behalf of the agent, but maybe that's because there wasn't any. Guys, let me take a quick break. I'm going to come right back to you. Welcome back. And I think we put the previous story to bed, but there's more. There are always more. And I mentioned at one point during this podcast that I had just got off the phone with somebody, like a fourth story, a fourth example of sellers just not understanding or caring to acknowledge market value, agents that really don't understand the market that we're in. And I jokingly said to that agent, we're not running a charity here. And effectively in that case, what I meant was that the agent kept talking about what they need. This was an agent that owns the property himself, what we need, and our mortgage is this much, and the thing is, and yeah, but. And I said, look, we're not running a charity here. So let me move on to my second story, because this one's even crazier than the first one. There was a house in the West End, and I remember this when it came out in the spring at $1,099,000. It seemed like maybe a bit ambitious, but hey, you never know. And it sat for 4 months. They dropped the price to $999,000. And I thought, well, it's not terrible, but it sat for another 3 months. So, hey, the market's not responding. The market doesn't like it. And I believe that the market is efficient. Any market of buyers and sellers without interference, without asterisks, they will decide on market value. Picture the Venn diagram. They overlap. What buyers want, what sellers want. There's the Venn diagram, and that intersection and that overlap is what market value is. Now, I come from an economics background, which is, oh my God, I don't want to admit this. Okay, fine. What year did I go to university? 1998. I tell you what, 20 years ago, it didn't seem that long ago, but I come from an economics background and I love the intersection of the X and Y axes. I just loved graphs. I loved economics and I loved understanding pricing. And for those of you that are visual thinkers, picture the two axes of supply and demand. And hey, guess what? Where that intersects, that is market value. So I believe in the efficient market theory, which is to say that in a market without overregulation, the intersection of buyers and sellers will determine market value. In this case, as I mentioned, we've got a house that was listed for 4 months at $1,099,000. House has been listed for 3 months at $999,000. They dropped the price to $899,000. Now at $899,000, it continues to sit on the market. My clients and I see it. We've been on the market now for 3 weeks. Not we, but they. So my clients decide to offer $875,000. And here's the thing, and I wrote this on my blog. Some of you might be like, that's it? That's what you offer, David? You're not even negotiating here. Offer $850, offer $800, go for the jugular. But I just had this feeling. It had a stink. And I don't want to actually, no, I will. It was a discount agent from a discount brokerage outside of the GTA. That's a bit of a red flag. And it just had a feeling, it wasn't staged. I get it. Right? Not everyone's TRG, not everyone's stages, but it wasn't staged. It didn't present well. It wasn't clean. The listing sucked, all caps, tons of asterisks, just really poor listing. I just had a feeling that there was a stink on it. It felt like one of those ones where, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, some agents are just listing at a price with no offer date, letting it sit, and then saying, no, I won't take that. I need more. My friend, who shall remain nameless from another brokerage, constantly refers to this listing on the east side for $1,499,000, where they've openly said they won't accept less than $1.8 million. It's been on the market for 6 months at $1,499,000. They want $1.8 million. How is that not false advertising? That was last week's podcast. This week, I'm talking to you about actually being out there, making the offers, and seeing what agents do. So we offer $875,000 on the $899,000 listing, and they sign back at $1,060,000. What? You were at $1,099,000 for 4 months, didn't sell. You were at $999,000 for 3 months, didn't sell. You're at $899,000. You've been on the market for 3 weeks. We give you an offer, an unconditional offer with a 3-week closing, and you sign it back at $1,060,000. Now I spoke to the agent, and I said on my blog, the listing agent said they don't deserve to lose on this. And I said on my blog, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it. Movie? I'll give you a couple seconds to answer out loud. Deserve ain't got nothing to do with it. Clint Eastwood at the end of Unforgiven when he shoots Gene Hackman. Sorry, I just spoiled the movie. And Gene Hackman says, I didn't deserve this. Clint Eastwood says, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it. It's one of my favorite lines. So how I draw that parallel back to real estate, I don't know. But he said they don't deserve to lose money on this. I don't care. They paid $1,050,000 for this property at the height of the market in 2022. They bought through a different agent. And again, I don't want to call hindsight, but this was listed at $699,000 and they paid $1,050,000 for it. Okay, great. Yeah, listen, 2 years later, the market's not what it was then. They want to sell. And this agent, who now is the different agent, is saying they don't deserve to lose on this. Deserve ain't got nothing to do with it. It didn't make any sense. The market is not valuing your property where you want it to be. And again, in this case, we just walked away. There was nothing to do here. But I did speak to this agent and I said, explain fair market value to me. And he said, look, none of this matters. I said, no, it does matter. And he said, here's what I want you to realize. And then he told me that they paid $1,050,000 and they paid $25,000 in land transfer tax and they're paying whatever in real estate fees. And he added up all the costs. And he said, here's what you need to realize. They can't afford to lose more than, and I just cut him off. I said, look, man, me and you have a different opinion. Okay. I understand that your clients have lost money and I'm sorry to hear that. I lost my life savings on Nortel Network in 2000 or 2001, right? But I didn't go back to E-Trade or iTrade or whatever it was and say, hey, I want a do-over. I took my money, I put it in stock, the stock went down, and hell, I had a stockbroker with 50 years experience telling me, hey, it's just a paper loss. Don't worry about it. The point is, it's the market. You played, you lost. It's not up to the buyer pool to make up for your loss. So in this case, we simply walked away. And again, it takes two to tango. I've got a client, he makes an unconditional offer. We're offering a quick closing. And again, we offered $875 on an $899 list. You know what? He might have offered $899 or paid $899. Hell, maybe he would have paid $902. But these folks were unsold for 7 months at various prices, and they're just not willing to accept fair market value. So my last story is interesting because this is the intersection of a friend of mine from another brokerage who shall remain nameless. I'm going to call her Farah. And that doesn't mean her name is Fawn or something. I just picked a random name. And she and I both showed the same East Side house. And this house was listed at $1,899,000. I saw it. My clients didn't love it. She said, hey, did you see this house? We always compare notes. I said, yeah, I saw it. She said, what do you think? I said, I don't know, $1,899 maybe. She said, well, they have an offer date. I said, it doesn't mean anything in this market. It just doesn't. And she said, well, this agent's been talking me up all week. Yeah, agents do that. But this agent was like next level, just crazy amounts of talk. The kind of agent that like, this agent calls me for feedback and I say, listen, we really didn't like the house. And she goes, yeah, it's such a great house. And the thing is, it's so hard to find something like this in the city of Toronto. I'm like, I just said, I'm not your guy. The overselling here is where you start to realize agents believe they can talk you into it. I mean, I'm not the client. You're going to talk me into talking my clients into buying a house they don't like. So my friend Farah said, yes, I got the exact same thing. The only difference is Farah's clients were kind of interested, but they didn't really value it at $1,899. And you can pull comps, you can do whatever you want. What does the market say that it's worth? So the offer date comes along and nothing, no offers. Farah tells me, you know what? My clients are going to offer on this. I said to her, you are walking into a fantastic mess. And I told her about my experiences that I've just regaled you with. I told her how I'm putting this in a blog and a podcast. She said, well, listen, we're going to give it a shot. And they went in at $185. So you might say, well, David, listen, you'd be the first one to say you're crazy to offer under the list price in competition. Right. In 2022, when there are 14 offers on a $699 property and you want to offer $650, yeah, that's selling for $950. Different market, different time. I'm talking about today's market. An offer date that means nothing, 0 offers and 0 competition. There's nothing wrong with offering $1,850,000 on $1,899 when there are 0 offers, regardless of the offer date. So Farah tells me that this agent has been all over her all week. And she says, my God, can she talk? I said, Farah, you can talk. Like, I can't get you off the phone. I could literally be like, I'm being run over by a forklift. You will keep talking. And she said, yeah, I get that. And I'm telling you, this agent can talk. She said that the agent every single day called her to touch base and then tell her some more interesting things about the property. Farah and I both agreed it's probably worth somewhere between 1.8 and 1.9. And the market will decide what it's worth. Farah offered 1.85 for her buyer clients. And the seller signed back at $2.1 million. I'm not here today to complain about negotiating. I'm not here today to complain that my offers aren't getting accepted. What I am saying is that there is no intersection of fair market and seller expectation. And when I say no, I mean, yes, there are deals being done. But in this case, you've got a house listed at $1,899 with an offer date. Now, the whole offer date situation is predicated on the idea that 1, there's more demand than supply, and 2, that you're underpriced. So again, I go back to the example of a house is worth $1 million. You price it at $749. You're going to have a ton of people through the door. You're going to have a lot of offers. And yes, it's worth $1 million. You get offers of $850 and $925 and $980. And the idea is that as a seller and a listing agent, you can push the price up via multiple offers over the property's intrinsic value. In today's market, yes, there is demand. But if we're not underpricing, and if we don't have a clear picture on market value, to take a house at $1,899 and think that you can just set an offer date and then what, get 2.1 million, absolutely positively absurd. So Farah's clients just walked. That was it. And she called me and I said, yeah, listen, I've done the same thing as I've explained to you in the last couple of stories. And then that agent called her the next day, said, hey, we're here to make a deal. Let's get back on paper. And she said, listen, like I gave you a workable offer. And then the agent just went off about how great it is and just blah, blah, blah. It's funny because Farah said, David, you and I have different negotiating styles. Because I said to her, Farah, if that agent was doing that to me, call the agent Jenny, right? Jenny's going blah, blah, blah. And I go, Jenny, I can't. Jenny, I can't. Then there's that silence and Jenny, the agent, says, what? I go, I with respect, I can't. I'm just not interested. Good pitch. I hear you. You're working for your sellers. I can't have this conversation. I can't listen to this. And that's nice. You could say it's passive aggressive. I said to Farah, the more that you let that agent go on without cutting her off, the more she thinks you're talking her into it. But there's more. The more she's talking herself into it. And here's where ego comes into play. That agent has a house that's worth 185, maybe 1899. That agent, either because of the ego or because of the seller's unrealistic expectations, is pushing for 2.1. That agent calls you and tells you all about the incredible renovation from 2007, tells you about all these amazing things, and you just let that agent go on and on and on. That agent thinks they're convincing you. That agent is convincing themselves, I believe. So that, in a nutshell, guys, is what's happening in the market right now. And the takeaway is very simple. Sellers won't accept fair market value. Sellers' expectations, you see I was confusing accept and expect, sellers' expectations are out of line with market value. So if sellers won't accept market value and sellers are expecting more than market value, you can see where a buyer that's working in a market that, the sales to new listings ratio is well below 50%, the absorption rate, if you will. There are way more new listings than sales. There are way more sellers than there are buyers. Again, quality inventory is not there. But you can't, as a seller, just say, here's what I'm getting and throw everything else out the window. And more often than not, I like to blame the listing agents for not doing their job. I had a difficult conversation with a client on the weekend. And I'll say this, we've sold pretty much every listing that we brought out after Labor Day, except for this one. Now, it was decided in advance that the strategy here would be to overprice it. Sometimes that is the strategy. But I had to give the client a reminder that that was the strategy, because one of the other things I joke around about on the team is that sometimes your clients get amnesia. You say, listen, this is a $699 list. I get that you want to price it at $779 just to say, I always want to know that I tried. And I told the client in advance it's not going to work. I told the client we're coming into a difficult condo market. You've got to be priced effectively. And here we are 2 months later. But I had that difficult conversation where the client kind of got a little bit of amnesia and kind of forgot. And I went to the client and I said, I told you in the summer, this is worth $690. I told you to list at $699. We decided to overprice just to, quote, see what happens against my better judgment and against what I typically do. Now it's time. Put it out at $699. Well, there is no well. I need to take the night to think. You don't. Do you want to sell the property? Yes or no? Yes, I do. Do you want to take it off and rent it out for the next few years? No, I don't. Okay. You have an overpriced listing. Your listing is lost in a sea of other listings. And then this. I said, it's hard enough to sell a B- property at best at fair market value right now. How are you going to sell your B- property when you're overpriced? Anyways, listen, price reduction, back out on the market, everybody wins. We'll get it sold. But the point is I had that conversation. And listen, tell me that I'm not fighting for my clients or, you're just trying to push a price reduction to get a sale. No, my job is to be honest and to educate and to guide and to advise. And I feel like a lot of the agents out there right now aren't doing that. And I told you, I gave you 3 stories right now throughout the last 30, 40 minutes. Agents have an ego. They want to talk themselves and the other agents into why it's worth what it's worth, or why it's worth what the seller says they need or want, which are completely out of line with fair market value. So do this if you have time. In fact, I might, just as an exercise, Google fair market value. Go to Wikipedia or Wikinomics. I feel like I want to go look at a chart, the intersection of the XY axis. Just look up the definition of fair market value. And I'm sure somewhere it will say something to the effect of what a willing buyer and a willing seller will agree upon in a market without restrictions and regulation. Because that is by definition or the definition that I live by, what fair market value is out there right now. And while I do believe prices will go up next year, and there are some sellers that say, I don't need to sell, I can wait until next year. The ones that are out there right now wanting to sell, they don't get it. The offer nights aren't working. You're setting the offer nights, you're acting like it's February of 2022, you're grandstanding, you're posturing, you're feigning leverage. And the buyer's just going to turn around and walk away, as is the buyer agent, and as did every single protagonist in the stories that I told you about today. Anyways, guys, that is it for me for this week. This was a fun one. I like the ones that are more storytelling in nature. So thank you for watching on YouTube, if that's where you're watching. Thank you for listening on, well, I don't actually know. Where do people listen to podcasts? In all seriousness, please remember to like, comment, or subscribe. Leave a comment on YouTube, and I will see you next week here on The Last Honest Realtor.